Kumlen and Bava Kama Daf, Monday, Daf Yud Aleph. We are up to the Gemara here, Omar Shmuel. It's about 15 lines on the top of the page, beginning of the line. So we discussed before that you can give the carcass back to the nizik, to the victim, and use that as a form of payment. And the chiddush is that even though it's devalued since the time of the damage, we say that you can give back the carcass and use it the old value. In fact, we said some machlekes tonight, possibly, and then Gemara rejected that. So Omar Shmuel, so Shmuel, Ein Shamin, he says, we do not assess loy leganev v'loy leganev el nezikin. Don't give back the carcass, only for nezikin, for victim nezikin, but not for a ganef, not for a gas. What exactly does that mean? Big machlekes. There are actually four different opinions. Just tell you two. Rashi and a whole bunch of Rishonim learn it means that, as the Gemara later on explains, that Shmuel holds shined kind. If a ganef steals something and makes any changes, no longer the original form, it belongs now to the ganef, and he has to pay the full amount to the victim. Because it says you should bring back the stolen item and return it the way it was stolen. But if it changes the way it was stolen, then you no longer return it, you have to pay back. So Rashi therefore learns Ein Shaman means that you cannot pay with the carcass, because since the ganef was kind as soon as he stole it and then it died, he cannot just give back the carcass. And according to Rashi, he cannot even give back the carcass as we said before, subin. You're allowed to give shavik kesef. He can't even do it as that. We have a pasuk, Chaim Shnaim Yishalim, or Vehesha Gezela. Traces agrees, cannot pay him. Other Rishonim learn, of course, you can pay back the carcass, but the chiddush here is not like by nezikin that we say we look at the moment that it was damaged, even though it was devalued at the time of payment, we consider it the value what it was originally. When it comes to ganef, we don't consider the value when you stole it. We consider the value as to when you're actually using to pay. That's the second way. And the Rambam is in its own right is difficult. The Maggid Mishnah, they all talk about it, but the Rambam seems to say that it's up to the nignav whether he wants the carcass back or not. The Gemara then continues, and he says the same thing applies to a shoyl. Now we're not sure what he means. That what is a shoyl like in a zikin, and therefore you can, the shoyl borrowed something and an accident happened and you're responsible. Can you pay back with the carcass itself, like by nezikin, or do we say no? You're like ganef and a kazan, and then you can't. The Abba Mayduli and Abba Rav agrees with me. So Ibaylu were asking, are you saying after shoyl shamit for shoyl also we can assess the carcass and get paid back with the carcass, or if it was devalued to pay the original price? Abba Mayduli, and he agrees. That by a borrower you cannot pay back with the carcass. Abba Mayduli, and some of the Acharayim want to say it depends on the question, which will come up as we learn a number of times later on. And that is, when does a shoyl become a shoyl? According to Taisa, it seems we're only talking about a shoyl. According to Rashi, we're talking about all shayimrim. We're just giving an example. For example, a shoyl, if an accident happens, he's responsible. There's two ways of understanding it. That as soon as the shoyl borrowed the animal now became the shoyl. And how does he pay it? He becomes the owner. The shoyl becomes now the owner. How does he pay it back? When he brings the animal back. But if there was an onus, he cannot pay, then he was responsible from the first day he took it. Mishas Meshicha, he became responsible. Just he can pay back if the animal's still alive. Others learn no. As long as the animal's alive, you have no obligations to the shomer other than giving back the animal. It's only when the animal dies starts the chiv. So if the animal, as soon as you took it, it became yours, then you cannot pay back the carcass because it's yours. Why should the nigna take? Why should the masher, the lender, take it back? But if you learn that all along it belonged to the lender, it's only when the accident happens that it transfers ownership, so I can give the carcass back because the carcass was actually the owner's. Anyway, so Gemara concludes. First, we want to ask Toshma coming in. Who God was a person to show Nagim Chavi borrowed a candle from his friend, a candlestick. Tavra broke it. Also, Kabbalah did Rav. What's going to Rav? What should he do? Amalei Rav. Zil Sholim Le Naga Ma'alga. You pay him the full price of a naga. So according to Rashi, means literally you got to pay him a full candle. Don't give the broken pieces back. Or according to the other opinion, you can give the broken pieces back, but you got to make sure that you pay the difference between the broken pieces and the full candle what is today. Shmamra ain't Rabin. So here's isn't a proof that ain't shaman, because right now the Gemara says you have to give back the candle. You cannot give back the broken pieces. Says Gemara Adirabba. In other words, a shoyl just like a Ghana. Because Rab Kanavasi argued with Rab, and they said to Rab, Dina Hochi, is that the law? The Shosik, and he was quiet. Sometimes we say when Rab was quiet, that means he didn't concede to them at all. He maintained his opinion. Shmaman Hashamin. This proved that the halach is actually you could give back the broken pieces. Itma we learned. Amar Ula said. Amar Blazer. Shamin leganif legazan. You can return the broken pieces, even to a ganif and even to a gazan. You can give back the pieces because he holds that shira is not koina, and therefore the item still belongs to the victim. So if it breaks, you can give it back to the victim and just pay the difference. And the papi amar ain't shamin. No, Shina is kaina. The Gemara said that tzariches since Shimei or Tzadalad that since Shina is kaina, because Shina it means that it becomes a ganef, then you can no longer pay back the broken pieces. Hilchasa ain't shamin loy leganef loy leganef. You cannot give the back the carcass. Avol the shoyl shamin, but the shoyl you could. Kid Rav Kahana and Rab Asi, not like Rab. Now that we mentioned Ula, the name Rabbi Lazar, we're going to mention a few other things. Amar Ula, Rabbi Lazar, Shilia, you have a sack, an embryonic sack. She yotzes on miktasa b'yamirishin. Now the din is as follows: a woman gives birth. It depends on male or a female. For a male, the first 7 days, or if she's tamei, regardless of whether she saw blood or not. And after that, the next 33 days, everything that she sees is always tired. She touches things, she's tired. And after 40 days, then she's tamei again. So she goes to the mikveh. When it comes to females, 14 days and then 66, and then after 80, she has to go ahead and go to the mikveh. So what happens if it's only this if she gave birth? What happens if the embryo, what do you call the sac, came out partially? Now we're not sure if every single, and then if you look at the sac, you don't really see a fetus because maybe it disintegrated. And we're going to see that two possible ways of learning. One is that the fetus fills the entire sac, just so you don't see it, or the fetus does not fill the entire sac. So it's a question when the part of the sac came out, whether the fetus is in there at all. And even if the fetus fills the entire sac, the question is if the majority of the fetus came out, then as if it gave birth, or if it didn't majority, then she did not give birth yet. So if Shilia Shiyatsa Miktsasa part came out, so we are not sure, what came out with it. Umiktsasa Yashani part the second day, so we machmer. I would say, you know what? Maybe the first day, most of the majority of the child of the fetus came out, and therefore she's tummy from the first day. Amar Rabbi, you think that's a stringency? Ma daita lechumra, you think that's a stringency? Chumra de asi lidei kulu. It's a stringency. It's a stringency that becomes lenient. It's a stringency that comes to a kula. Why? Because what you do, if you can start counting the first day, okay, it's a chumrah, but then the 14 days by a girl, suddenly that boy lapse from day number one. If you start counting from the second day, they lapse only if she's coming for another day. So therefore, which way should we go? Elamar says Rabbi, Lachush Chayshesh, we are worried from the first day, but but we don't start counting the 7 or 40 days of the second day, so that the days of Tara start afterwards. This way you canvas all the chubris. So what are you telling us? The ain mikta shili. You must conclude from here that the entire sack is filled with this fetus. Because if you can tell me only part of the sack has the fetus in it, then l'chayr is a svek sveika. And the svek sveika is, first of all, how do you know the part of the embryo had a fetus in it? And even the embryonic sac, and even if the sac did have part of the fetus, I know if it was the majority or it was parts. The svek sveika, generally, we are lenient. So it must be that the fetus fills the entire sac. So there's only one suffix. Did the majority come out? Or to another she gave birth, or the minority? And therefore we are machmir. Says the Gemara, that's the whole thing you're trying to tell us here, that we assume that the fetus fills the entire sac. Tanina, we already learned it regarding an animal, but the same concept. We have a thing called a bemku. Bemku is you shech the mother and there's a baby inside the womb, then you don't have to shech the baby because it's kosher, it's with the shechita of the mother. So what happens if part of the sack came out of the mother and then it went back in? Shilya, sheyotza mixasa, if part of it came out before you shechted the behemoth, asura, you're not allowed to eat this sack. Ba'achila, you're not allowed to eat the sack. Then it's a siman vlad be'isha, because the sack tells us there must be a fetus inside when it comes to a woman, and siman vlad behema also tells us there must have been a vlad by this behema. So, and therefore we are chayshish that maybe the vlad, that the part of the embryo, the sac that came out, the vlad was in there as well. And we're saying that maybe the majority of the uber came out, and then the majority of the fetus came out, even though it went back in the mother, it's too late. And therefore no longer becomes kosher with the shchita of the mother. So what do we see clear from there? It's going to be a sex faker unless he'll say that the fetus fills the entire sac. So we already know this concept. What did Ula in Abelazar's name tell us anything new? Says the Gemara, if we only knew this Bryce, I would have thought, no. Who says that the embryo fills the entire sac? I've never thought the yesh mikta shilya b'lei vlad. It's possible that the fetus does not fill the entire sac. No, if it doesn't fill the entire sac, so it's chayzer why machme gzeira mikta atakula. We're saying that if a small part of the embryo of the mother came out, we are goizer that you're not allowed to eat from this sac, because maybe next time the entire embryo will come out, and then for sure, and then it went back into the mother. Then for sure you're not allowed to eat because the fetus came out. That's why we're machmir, because of gzeira, nothing more than that. So that's what I mean when it says over here by an animal you're not allowed to eat it. We are worried next time the entire sac comes out. And people will say, well, they'll say, you know why? You know why when part of the sac came out, you're allowed to eat it? Because we don't see a vlad there. There's no vlad at all. So even the entire sac came out, they'll say, well, there's no vlad. It went back into the mother, nothing happened. And they'll be eating another, they eat the sac. But when it comes to an ordinary woman, we are not worried if part of it comes out. If we only followed this gzera, then we would not have made a gzera by a woman. If part of her sac came out, we would not say, oh, and there's a sex rake here, whether Bechlal is a vlad, and even it is, maybe it's a minority. We would not say, oh, we should make a tummy anyway because we are geyser. We're not geyser at all, because if the entire sac came out, we know that's considered birth by us, and the woman would have to follow the rules. So when Ula comes, the name of the says that if part of the sac came out, we're going to be machmir. I is a sex fake. It must be there is no sex fake, because definitely the fetus fills the entire sac, and it's only a question of whether it's majority or whether it is minority. Yeah, Taisa says something here interesting. Taisa talks about when it comes to the laws of tumah, we have a general rule we learn from Satan. So if it's in a public place, even if in a public place, we're always even one suffix, we're very lenient. And if it's a private place, that even two sveikas, even to sveka, we are machmer. Right? That's the laws of tumah. So what's going on over here? We're saying because of sveka, we would have made it. We would have made this woman tar. But if it's l'chayda, if it's considered in a public place, then even one suffix will be tar. And if it's a private place, even two svekas, does make a difference. The Tosfos says here these words, which create a big controversy, that we're not talking about neither regarding the tumah if she touches taris, we're talking about whether she can have a relation with the husband. What's Tosfos saying, according to most Acharaim? The iser of nida to husband is not a din in tumah. Not because she's tamei, the husband can't have any do with it. It's a din in iser. It's an iser, like iser erva. And that's why the husband cannot have a din. And when it comes to the mikveh takes away the tumah. And when the tumah is gone, then the Isser ever is gone. Tumah we don't care about. We don't care the woman is coming, the husband has a relation with her. Nida is not a din in tumah, it's a din in Isser. Others disagree and they hold, what are you talking about? The whole end of Nida is the idea of tumah. And a very controversial discussion. Then the Gemara continues, another din of Ula the name of Lazar, but Amar Ula, Amar Abelazar. We know that when a baby is 30 days old, they have to do it, the firstborn, we have to do a pidyon habed. Even though bris milah, we do it after 8 days, by a pidyon habed, we do it after 30. Why do we wait 8 days by a pidyon, by a bris milah? We want to make sure the baby is healthy. So why by pidyon habed we wait 30 days? Because, just because, a baby is healthy 8 days, not all babies will survive. And when it comes to dini mamonis, ein hochim b'mamon achar roiv. So the Torah says you got to wait 30 days because they don't just say probability is not good enough. We need that to be 100% sure, or at least as sure as possible. So we need to wait 30 days. So I have. So the Gemara says the following case: Machlekes Rashi faces another Shem how to learn. Rashi learns the following: that should have survived but was killed within 30 days. So you would have thought, well, since in theory you would have survived, I should pay pidyon aben. Says the pasuk ain't paid no, so you don't pay pidyon aben. Bava Kama Daf says even if it was killed within 30 days, I should pay the pidyon aben because it could have survived. No, you have to wait till 30 days. Jason totally disagreed. Jason says, why would you even think that if the child was killed within before 30 days, you should give to Ben? He said very clearly, after 30 days, so Jason says it's talking about over here that you live more than 30 days. But you're a treifa. This child is a treifa, has one of these defects that the child probably not going to live too long. That's the question. Do you have to give pidyon haben for a child that is a treifa or not? And then there's a whole argument the Gemara will have all places where the treifa survives. Treifa chay or treifa ein chay. Does the treifa generally live or not? Yeah. So the Gemara continues. Next case, he said, Amar Ula Amar Abelazar Behema Gasa, a large animal. We had this in the beginning Kedushin. A large animal, how are you kind by schlepping and dragging it? But we're not necessarily clear that you just transfer the reins. So we answer Hudama Kaitani. He follows the following opinion. The Tanya we learned in the Brayse Chum say zu b'mishicha. Small animal, large animal, you use mishicha. And Abshima said zu b'hagba. So therefore, there's an opinion that says clearly mishicha, and that's what Ula says in the name of Rabbi Loza. Another did. Two brothers want to divide their assets and this clothing that they wear that belongs to the state. Masha aleihen, just because they're wearing it, shamin, you still have to assess it as part of the division of the assets. But Masha al b'nei and Ubanei say ain't something. What the kids are wearing, they don't have to assess because we don't want to embarrass them, or because the brothers were meichel. Sometimes even what they're wearing themselves, you don't really put into the equation. Why not? Because everyone is also meichel. Why would that be? The elder brother, the nichele, they're happy for him to dress like a mensch, so that he can go out there and do business and help out the entire family. And people hear his opinion. People respect someone who dresses, properly and is well kept. But another din, Abelazar says, we'll have this in Hamafkid more detail. We know that there's different kinds of shemim. A shemim chinim is only liable for negligence. Whether that's a din in shemira or that's a din in mazik is a discussion we'll have in the Hamafkid. And a shemim sacher and a seicher, if you get paid or if you're hiring, you're responsible also for Gnei Vaved. If you get lost or so, no, you put more care into it. And then a shayel pays for everything except Mesa Machal Malacha, unless it dies during the work that you hire it for, or the owner is still there. So Amar Abelazar, what happens if a shemer shemasal a shemer? One shemer, for whatever reason, had to leave, so he gave it over to another responsible shemer, and potter. And let's say it was stolen or lost. So the first shemer is potter because the shemer chinim is exempt from those things. The owner can say, hey, but you gave it to somebody else. You have to say if he gave it to him, for sure he's potter because he upped the ante. He got a shemer who puts more care into it. Now the shemer sacher will have to pay for the gneva and aved stolen or lost, but he doesn't pay it to the first shemer because we'll learn him after. Why should he make money out of somebody else's cow? He goes back to the original owner. So you don't have to say he improved the quality of the guarding of the watching it. Surely he's not negligent. Even if he was a shemer sacher and he gave you the shemer chinim, and what happened was, let's say, an accident, which even though he lowered the standard, since what happened was an accident and he gave it to a responsible person, he's potter. The Hashagrig say he weakened, he reduced the shmir, and now he's potter. Why? He gave it to somebody who is intelligent. That's the first opinion. Comes along, that's a Ula named Abelazar. Says Rav, no. Shemer shemasal l'shemer chayev. You gave it to Hashem Yechayim. Not only if you decreased the level of watching it, the he made it worse. Even if you gave it to, if you improved it, why? I trust you, the shur. I don't trust him with the shur. And Amafkid, we say another reason there. It says, I don't want my object to be in somebody else's hand. And the big halacha is, in this case here, the reason is I trust you that you swear to me that if an accident happened, I trust you. Then I have no idea where they are. They tell me an accident happened. How do I not? They're not lying. The African would be is what would be if we know that the owner does trust that the other person as well from other situations where he used that person or he trusted that person, or what happens are witnesses as to what happened. So in this, if you follow the reason over here, I don't believe them with the shur, then obviously it's not an argument and he would be potter. But if the reason is I don't want, you have no right to give it to anybody else because I didn't give you permission, then you still be responsible. Another thing, is an argument if an eved is treated like property. Oh, if somebody owns an eved, it's like property, or is it like metal? We already had before. Kedushin argument is an argument here. If an eved can mekarka, eved can metalki. And according to some of the shayim, everyone agrees it's can mekarka. It's only by dinim the rabbanon. We're wondering whether it's like karka metalki. Says the Gemara. The halacha is that you can collect a loan from an asset which is an eved. So the Gemara wants to understand. Even from your saying, let's say the person died. If the person died, you only really take from property. You cannot take from a talton because the talton of the Yisraelim are not indebted to the father's debts. So are you telling me that the Evan has in the property? Or is it like, no, minay. Only if the person is still alive. Says your mother, minay, I can take from anything. I can take his shirt off his back if he can't pay me another way. What's the chiddush that I can take his Evan as a form of payment? We're talking about a case over here that he put together three words, poi tehei koi. That I said that you will get paid from this eved. That and Rabbi Loza Chiddush is that if the borrower sold the eved, the lender has the right to go to the purchaser, even though the borrower might have other means of paying back. Go to the purchaser and take the eved back. Say, this eved was put aside for me. Says the Gemara. You made your ebed and a poitik machna, you sold it about chayv, and the chayv every right to go to the purchaser and take it back. Show that poitik if he makes a show in the poitik machna, so ain't machayv and the chayv has no right to go back and take my time, but why not? Ha islay kolav, ha elas le kolav. But the show gets sold, nobody knows about it. If it ever gets sold, people know about it. So therefore, that person should never avoid it. The boss of the offer after Rabbi walked out of the room. So after the Nachman walked out of the room, more argued with Ula. Ula said, I don't care what Nachman says. And Nachman argues that what? That they're metalpin. I say, how come Rabbi Loza, I feel me as we collect the same because they have the same status as an asset. Nachman said, Ishtamitin Ula. That Ula sort of wriggled his way out. He wiggled his way out. He knew that I would ask him a bunch of questions, so he didn't want to say that he maintained his opinion. But there was a story in the Doi, Agbadain Doi, and the Dayam in the Doi collected from the slave, a loan from the slave, because they felt that he has been like property. I mean, from this story, producer Agbad of Chalababizna. Nachman Zilu how to Nachman said, you better return this Eved, because I'll take from your palace. In other words, you're wrong. An Eved is only metalton. Omelay, Rabbi Nachman, what do you mean? Ha'ula, you have Ula says that's like property. Ha'rab Beloza is like property. Ha'dayon Dahadoy says it's like land. Ha'rab Chalabat Bizna. Mar Kemasul, your own opinion. And you're saying it's like metal, importable goods. Omelay said, Anom Mastita Yadaino. All I know is I know Bryson. Tanya Vima said, Prusbul. That's a kind of Prusbul. You lend money and you don't want to cancel it, so give it over to like a peasant. And Prusbul is chol al kaka. You need to have some kind of a property, and that property was said as if you already got paid. The einu chol al avodim, but you cannot use the avodim as property because avodim are not considered land. Metalkin indicated in if you buy land, you get the metalkin with it as well, like secondary to it. Agav the einu niktim avodim. If you buy slaves, the metalkins come flowing with it. So as he closes there, that slaves are considered metalkin. I followed that brisa. Tomorrow, Mr. Shem.